Farm show. We've had 3 great days here. We've been really blessed with attendance and weather and everything else. A little rain today, but the temps have been nice, and we enjoy having a chance to connect with our audience over these 3 days with our seminars. Got to save the best for last right here. Marissa Nielsen talking about defending the legacy. This is something all of us need to pay a lot of attention to. I say it every time, the best of the best. Marissa Nielsen, Freedom Financial Group. Please give her your attention.
All right, well, let's see here. Am I on? On, ding, ding, ding. All right, very good. Hi, I am Marissa Nielsen. I want to say thank you to Don Wick. Oh, man, don't they have a great crew here at the Red River Farm Network? Let's give them a little hand, because, man, they have done a great job over these last 3 days. The entire crew here, everything from the simulcast that they've got online right now under their live events page to the sound to all of it. They do a great job for us. So one of the things that I just want to share with you today is if you have not yet gotten some of our resources, you want to get these resources. These are free. I am not selling you anything today other than hopefully you leave here with a motivation to get a plan in place. So there's a couple things for those of you who are watching online right now. We have a follow along little workbook with multiple resources inside of here, some checklists, some assessments, some things for you to take home and do with your family. There's a little QR code up on the screen there, so if you want to get this on your phone, how you do that, or on an iPhone or an iPad or any of them things that everyone does now these days. How you do that is you hold it right on up there, you push the button, you put in your email address, and this entire planning packet of information is going to be in your email box in just a few minutes. So you'll be able to print it off and make copies for whoever you want. In addition to that, today we're going to talk a little bit about how to get some things in order, what we need to do to plan for our farms and ranches today. Before we get started with that, I'm going to start very quickly. I'm Marissa Nielsen with Freedom Financial Group. I'm the CEO there, the Chief Encouragement Officer, or the Chief Everything Officer. It can be one of those few things. But I giggle a little bit about that because as we talk about farm and ranch planning today, I want to really begin with my story, and part of my story today really starts from Max, North Dakota. Anybody know where Max, North Dakota is? Thank you. So, started Max, North Dakota. I grew up there. I was a farm kid in the 80s. Now, please do not date me right now, because what you are right now thinking is, how old is this girl? And what I'm going to share with you is I will lie till I die about my age. Lie till I die about that. That's about it. There's 2 questions you cannot ask me. Number 1, how big a girl are you? And number 2, how old are you? Because I'm going to lie about both. That was kind of funny. Help a sister out on this. Okay, thanks very much. Okay, but I'm a farm kid from Max, North Dakota. I grew up in the 80s there. What happened during the 80s? We know if you were farming during that time, there was droughts, there was high interest rates, there was families that had what I call rich farmers and then poor farmers. We were part of the poor farmer category. Let me share with you what a poor farmer family looks like compared to a rich family farm. Rich family farm, they had these things called rock pickers. They would go through the fields and they would pick out the rocks. It was equipment, right? Poor family farm, our farm, we had rock pickers too. Let me introduce you to one. Hello, my name is Marissa Nielsen, the rock picker. Right, so that's where I learned the value of $1, rock picking, when I was just about knee-high to a grasshopper at that time, 8 kids. We had one rule in our family. If you want to eat today, you got to work today. That's how it worked. And everybody worked really, really hard on that farm. You know, we work together in teams, whether our team is part of our financial planning team or it is our family team. I've got my team here in the back. I want to give a little wave to my Freedom Financial Group people back there. These are part of our advisory team. If you've got questions on any of the information I'm going to give you here afterwards, take a moment, spend a little bit of time chatting them up with any questions that you have. There's pretty much everything they'll answer except for my age and my weight. They will not tell you that or they will get fired. It's a real thing. Okay, so learn some valuable lessons on that farm. One of the things that I learned during the late 80s is that, and the mid 80s, is that things don't always work out in your favor. And you can prepare or you can repair. And you could prepare as much as you wanted to, but there are some things that you cannot control. You cannot control the sun, you cannot control the rain, you cannot control many times what's going to happen within your harvest. But there are absolutely things that you can control, and I'm going to give those to you today so you can take back those things today and apply them to your businesses. Now, in the late 80s, what happened was this. The auctioneers came in, And I'm going to give you the short, sad version, all right? Here it is. My grandparents came over from the Ukraine when they were children. This was homesteaded land. They came across, built this little farmstead by Max, North Dakota, just north of Max, North Dakota. And as they built this farmstead, they had my parents, my parents got married. My dad came back. My grandfather got sick. My dad came back to farm full time. And when that happened, interest rates were already high, we were already in debt, and we owed the bank a lot of money in that time. Now, not a lot comparatively to what I could write a check for or what you could write a check for today, but back then, a lot. And it was too much, even with Dad working off the farm, even with Mom working off the farm, even with each one of us doing the very best we could on that farm. At the end of the day, what happened was the auctioneers came in, and piece by piece by piece, this was after my parents' marriage ended in divorce, the pressure was just too much. So the drought did not just destroy the family farm, it destroyed the family too. And when that happened, I was with my dad all the way through that process, and I came into that house and I pulled out all my grandma's china and her china hutch and the piano and all the tools out of the bins and the barns and the sheds, and we lined up everything from the combines that you're looking at right here to the tractors. And I watched my grandfather sit on the back of that flatbed trailer with big tears rolling down his eyes. Now keep in mind, this was the same man that earlier that season had literally almost chopped his hand in half when we were out in the field one day. And he took some duct tape and rolled it back up around his hand and said, "Okay, kids, we got to get back to work. We got rocks to pick here. We got to get this thing cultivated," right? Are you kidding me? Never saw him cry before that day. And I watched my father watch his father on the back of that flatbed trailer with tears rolling down his eyes. And a week later, my dad packed up and left. Left the state, hasn't come back. He could not face what happens when it goes down on your watch. Now, I don't tell you that to bring out the old harps and violins. I tell you that because I take my job very seriously. I take what I do with families very seriously. My team takes it very seriously because there are families at stake. And the lesson that I learned during that time when my mom moved us into a 2-bedroom trailer house in Minot, North Dakota, which had no heat in that winter with 8 kids, she had nailed blankets and towels and quilts to the walls and to the windows, but she was a proud lady. And she said, "You know what? I'm not going to go get food stamps. I'm not going to go get assistance. We're going to just figure it out and work hard and make it through." Well, when we did that, one of those nights, someone had given us an old TV, and we put that old TV in the middle of that trailer house living room next to the kerosene heater, which was heating that kerosene heater. By the way, if you don't believe there's a God, I now absolutely do, because I should be dead. Who's with me on this one? Kerosene heater, trailer house. Not a good idea. Not the best plan. So looked up at my mom. We had fished this old brown couch out of a dumpster. I looked up at my mom and I said, "Mom, we're like those poor people you see on TV, but we're not just poor. We're like super poor because they have food and they have heat, and we don't have either one of those things." And she said, "Yes, Marissa, but my mom in her finest hour," by the way, who you pick as a mate really matters in your life. My mom in her finest hour said to me, "Marissa, yes, we are poor, but you have a choice to make. You can be a victim or you can be victorious. What will you choose?" So your perspective on your farm or ranch today about what you do, when you do it, how you communicate that to your family today, it matters. And it can stick with your kids and your grandkids generationally as a legacy for them and with them. So that's not really what I'm here to talk with you about, but I will tell you, your balance sheet is not your legacy plan. Your balance sheet is part of a legacy plan, but it is not your legacy plan. Your legacy plan is the people you leave behind and how you leave them behind and how prepared you leave them behind, and that's what me and my team help people do. How do we do that today? We help you create a guided planning system for your farm and ranch plan, your business plan today. A guided planning system that consists of really 4 key areas: tax, legal, risk, and wealth planning. And as we talk about tax, legal, risk, and wealth planning, one of the things I share with people is that you've got to really understand what are your goals, what are your priorities, what's most important to you today. So when you think about who you're planning for, how you're preparing for that, I'm going to ask you when the last time was you took a road trip. Now, back in the day when we were kids, they don't do this anymore. They have these groovy little things called GPS on a cell phone. They're actually in your car, in your truck. But we had this thing called an MAP. That spells map. So everybody that's under 40 in the room today is like, what the heck's a map? A map is this thing you pulled out and it showed all of the towns and the cities and the highways, right? All the roads in that state. And we would go from state to state. So we took one road trip when we were kids, and it was from Minot, well, Max, North Dakota, to the Wisconsin Dells. And we had 3 maps. We had a North Dakota map, we had a Minnesota map, and we had a Wisconsin map. And we would go through and we mapped it all out with our little highlighter and said, this is how we're gonna go from here to there. Now, this is what we do when we're planning with our teams today. We say, you are here now, where are you now? And where do you want to go? What does that look like down the road? We call that a guided planning system for your financials today. So if you're following along with me, one of the things I'm gonna skip over a couple of these slides and just give you kind of the big highlights today of the things that you really want to know, learn, and do. But it's part of a Be Free plan, which is really getting to know you, making sure we understand your goals, your needs, and where you want to go. Because at the end of the day, here's some of the things that I want to share with you in your succession planning and in structuring your, don't walk over there, okay, walking this way. In structuring your farms and ranches for success today. When you're structuring for success, the questions I hear is, am I positioned correctly? Should I have an LLC? Should I have an LLP? Should I do an S Corp? Should I stay as a Schedule F on my farm return? How should I do that today? Will my family be provided for? Do I have enough to maintain things like retirement? How do I protect it from liability? What happens if my family goes through a lawsuit, a bankruptcy, or a divorce? These are all the things that we help our clients plan and prepare for. Now, again, if you haven't seen it yet, there's a little QR code right up there in the right-hand corner. Hold your little phone over it, push the button, put in your email address, you get my whole presentation. Bada boom, bada bang. All right, we're gonna talk about legacy planning because this is something I've been doing for 30 years. And I heard this just recently, when you can afford to quit, you can't afford to quit. I'm at a stage in my life today where I want to be in a room like this with people who really need help, who really want to make some different decisions for their families, for their legacy to be secured. And the difference between a secured legacy and your hopes and dreams is the plan in the middle. And there are 5 core questions that you want to ask when you're building a plan with anyone doing anything. With anyone doing anything. Here's the 5 core questions. Why? Why must we do it? What? What needs to be done? Who? Who can help us? How? How do we do that? And the last question is when? When will we do it? Are we going to can kick? You've heard can kickers, right? You know what I'm talking about, right? We're going to kick that can on down the road. We're going to wait till next year, the following year, and we're going to figure it out at some point in the future. Ever done that? Me too. Me too. Because we all do it at some point. But when we're can kicking today, the problem with that is securing our legacy and can kicking do not go together. Building a plan is what we want to really talk about today. What are the 4 core components of that plan? Tax, legal, risk, and wealth. That's part of that GPS that I talked about earlier. Now, the very first place that I start is with one question for you. When's the last time your accountant, attorney, financial advisor, insurance guy, loan officer, banker, your family, your team got in the same room and talked about your plan? Now, when we talk about your plan, that's really about bringing together those experts to the table to say, what do you know that I don't know today that is critical for me to know about making sure I can get a secured legacy? So when I begin to think about building your plan, bringing those people around the table, when you're going through big life decisions, whether I should sell or not sell, what do I do if I don't have a next generation farmer? What do I do if I do have a next generation farmer and I also have 4 other kids and I want to make it fair and I want to make sure people eat family dinner together? This is much like going to your local doctor, and you go to Mike, the local doctor, who, prescribes those antibiotics for that itch and that rash that you don't want to talk about. It's funny. Kind of funny? A little funny? Kind of funny. Okay. I just got to have a little fun, guys, and we want to make sure you're still awake, because if not, I'm coming down on into the audience, right? This will be a audience participation. And then says the guy in the front, he's like, I am leaving, I am out of here if she gets off the stage. But it's like going to Mike, my local doctor, who kind of does a little bit of everything, right? But if I had a ticker problem today where I needed to have heart surgery today and I had a widowmaker, I want to get the best of the best because Mike hasn't done 3,000 surgeries, right? He's prescribed a lot of medication, but not 3,000 surgeries. So what do? I ask Mike for a second opinion, and I go to a place like Mayo Clinic, or I go to a big local hospital, and I say, hey guys, what's my options here, right? Now when that happens, the cardiologist comes in, a backup surgeon comes in, the anesthesiologist comes in, a couple of nurses come in, this whole group of care people come in, they bring in a technician, the little sucker-outer person, that guy, I don't know what that guy's name is, but whatever that guy's name is, they bring that guy in, and they all get around your hospital room, in that surgical room, and they have one goal: get you off that table and get you out of that hospital alive and home to your family. We want to do the same thing when we're talking about your financial plan. Every person at that table has a role and a goal, and the role and goal should be to provide you with the best services and advice to make sure you get the best plan in place for your goals and your legacies. And so this is part of what we do is we bring together those teams and we say, who needs to be at this table? What are the experts that need to be at this table? And then we take them through a process of family communication. Now, family communication, I always ask the question, if you've done your estate plan, have you met with your family about it? Have you talked with them about it? Do they know what's going to happen? Because a lot of times we put that off and we say, well, I don't really want to open up that can of worms, or I don't really want the in-laws to know, or I don't really want that to happen. No problem. But at some point, at some time in the future, they're going to find out. Here, let me share with you when this will be. Okay, it's when you meet Jesus or the other guy. Get it? Jesus, other guy? If you don't know the first guy, just see me after. Okay, so not here to convert you, I'm just teasing. Take a deep breath. But there are 4 keys to really, really good communication. The first one is that we set an agenda. We know why are we in the room and what are we doing? Because otherwise, little family fights start. The little red wagon, you didn't do this thing right, you did this with the equipment, that went bad, what the heck were you thinking? And let's talk about this. Nope, not in this meeting. In this meeting, we have a set agenda, and we're going to talk about these things. The first thing we're going to talk about is the obstacles in the way of getting our plan in place for our family, which, by the way, companies hire me for thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars an hour to teach this one slide to their teams. Thousands of dollars an hour. My hourly rate for this to teach to companies is $10,000. So you're getting a smoking deal today because this is free. Woohoo! Way to come to the right workshop. Okay, so first one is agenda. Second one is obstacles. What are the obstacles we have in the way? The third one is our options. What are the options that we can utilize today? Should we do it this way? Should we do it this way? Should we do a combination of things? And then the last step is your action step. What are we going to take away and do with that today? Now, I've got an action step here for you. It's called a document checklist. And why I start with the document checklist for you is because inside that document checklist is all the things that you want to get in order to put into a plan that looks like this. Now, I love visuals. I love it for people to be able to take that and see, okay, how does this work? This is a true financial and estate plan. It's going to house things like your legal documents. It's going to put all of the documents and records in order. You're going to have a step-by-step of the things that you need to do for tax, legal, risk, wealth, communication, beneficiaries, transition planning, succession planning, the things I need to do annually. Anybody exhausted yet? Kind of funny? Not really. Okay, moving on. All right, so this page, this one piece of information, whether you put it together in a file or a file cabinet or something like that, getting it all coordinated, getting it all in place. Where are you banking? Who are you banking with? How's that position today? I'm going to give you a little piece that I did not give in the other 2 sessions the other days. One thing that's really important in here, by the way, is making a list of 2 things. The first one is my hard assets. The second one is my cash assets. Hard assets are everything that has a title or a deed or a VIN number or something like that today. Right? That's a hard asset. Cash assets are things like retirement accounts, investment accounts, bank accounts, savings, those types of things. Anything in this one category of cash assets, most of the time in most situations and circumstances, you can create what is called a beneficiary. A beneficiary is going to bypass this groovy thing called probate. Probate is the court-supervised process of your lawyers taking all your stuff to the courts to say, we're going to move it out of your name and move it into your name. Now, when that happens, You want to make a list of those things because your kids will spend thousands of hours searching. Did mom and dad have a bank here? Did they have something here? How did that work over here? Oh man, I think they worked off the farm for a period of time, and there might be an old retirement plan here. There might be some co-op funds over here. Anybody spend hours this last year searching for documents in your house? Yeah. And if you can't find those documents, how are they going to find those documents? So I gave you a handy-dandy document checklist here. Very simple. You follow that document checklist, you put it all in a box, and you say, now we're going to get it organized. So that's the first step in creating and building your estate plan, your business plan, your transition plan, your succession plan. Now, the second step that I would give you is figuring out where are you now? Now that you got all your stuff there in a box, now you go, well, what the heck do I do with this now, right? So you ask the question, where am I now? There is a, inside this free, if you have not yet received it. If you did not get this, by the way, raise up your hand, and one of my folks in the back, they will get this to you. So if you did not get one, we've got a couple of folks over here that need some of our planning packets. You just want to keep them high. They will get them on over to you. But inside of here is a little worksheet that will take you through, right after the document checklist, an assessment to answer these questions for where are you now? Do we have some of these things in order? Where might there be holes in your plan? I talk to people every day and they say, well, I've already done this planning, Marissa. Great. Have you got a second opinion within the last 2 to 5 years? Because a lot of things have changed in the marketplace and they're about to change again. 2025, let me give you this very, very important year. The law is set to change in 2025 to $5 million per person. That's the maximum, a little over $5 million per person. That's the max that you can leave estate tax free. Now, you can leave more than that now. Today, in this exact year, right now, 2023, you can leave $12,920,000 per person estate tax free. And you can leave up to $17,000 gifted away to anybody you want. No tax to them, no deduction to you, but you can give it away today, $17,000 a year under the gift tax rules. Now, this $12,920,000 is now going to turn to a little over $5 million. Have you looked at the bottom of your balance sheet recently? And is that number a fair market value number? Because all of these things that I'm asking these questions on are part of the where are you now, making sure that we're preparing for what's coming down the road to you. Now, another area that I spend some time talking a little bit about is this wealth and tax strategies. So when you think about your wealth and tax strategies, wow, this spot really does not like me. Okay, wealth and tax strategies is how do I keep more of what I make? How do I make sure that the assets I do have will last me a lifetime for me, for my spouse? How do I make sure my farm can support 1, 2, and sometimes 3 generations from the cash flow out of that? How do I fire the IRS? Do I have any capitalists in the room? Also, you should have all of your hands go up at this point, because if you are not a capitalist, you're in the wrong room, because I am about to slam it all, okay? If you are a small business owner today, people like me, who literally employ people, pay taxes, help them build wealth, help them create communities, right? You're a capitalist, right? We build wealth, we share it with our communities, we shop in our local restaurants and stores, we support, right? So at the end of the day, and I'm not going to get super political on that, but I will tell you, it is important that you stay in a place where you can pay your bills. Because when my dad was in a place where he couldn't pay his bills, and he thought, hey, the government will come in and help us, we'll get saved in this situation, someone else now owns our land. And I had to look at my 23-year-old daughter who was sitting in the car on the way here as we passed that metal Max sign, which my dad welded well over 40 years ago. On both sides of Max, there's a metal sign on Highway 83. Right down on the north side of town, straight down that road is where we used to live. And I pointed down there and I said, that used to be ours. It used to be ours. So my mission today is that your family doesn't say stuff like that. That used to be ours. My mission today is that your family says, we got a plan in place and we're going to make sure that our legacy continues well beyond my life, to my children and my children's children. Now, when you think about cash flow and retirement and all those things, one of the things that holds people back is they just don't know where all the income's going to come from, and they don't know how to figure out all the tax laws and figure out how all these pieces will work. There are seasons in our life, just like there are seasons In nature today, there are seasons that we go through in our life. What you slay in your 20s and 30s is what you will eat in your 60s and 70s. Who's with me on this? Can I get a hell yeah or an amen? Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Carl's not fired today. Great job, Carl. Thanks for coming to work today, bud. 20s and 30s, 40s, the things that you do right now, things like understanding the rule of 72, knowing how to plan your math and put your math in place for your families, teaching that stuff to your kids today to get that wealth moving for you. There's some things that you want to be thinking about. How do I reduce my debt? Right now, interest rates are on the rise. Yes or yes? Yes, they're on the rise. What's the other thing that's on the rise? Inflation is on the rise. Last year, when inflation was 8.5% last year, and now we weaned that down to a little over 5 right now. But when somebody says to me, well, yeah, my CD's earning 5%, great. What's the rate of inflation? You're flat, bud. You're flat. You're breaking even on that money. And so we have to think about how do we look at all these different sources of income and get our money working for us to multiply, to become our best employee. My money works for me when I sleep, when I eat, when I go on vacation, as I'm standing on this stage with you today. It's working. Your land is doing that. Your businesses, your operations today are doing this. So when we begin to think about how do I maximize that, the first person I want to fire is the IRS, and I'm going to show you how to do that in just a few minutes on a few slides. Okay? That's going to be really fun. It's one of my favorite things to do. Who would like to fire the IRS today? Said by every capitalist everywhere. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at what are your sources of income. So when you look over here and you say, let's put together our sources of income and let's figure out what do we have to live off of down the road one day. So we've got cash rent and we've got our cattle and we've got our sales of our equipment and we've got those types of things. Making those really, really good decisions now to say, what am I building in this little empire that will one day support me, my next generation, and the following generation? Now from there, I talk about diversification. Now this is really a pie chart to show you kind of the whole market world in general, but I will tell you every farm and ranch that we speak with, some to cash, some to hard assets. We need to look at making really good decisions within our operations. So I'm going to take you through that in just a moment. But I get a lot of questions on this area. Hey, Marissa, I'm saving a little bit of dollars off the ranch today or off the farm today or out of that business today. What do I do with it to get it making money for me? Because you take risk every single day in your farm or ranch, yes or yes? You take risk every single day because you can't control the rain, you can't control the sun, you can't control a lot of different pieces today. And so when you think about the risks that you're taking, there are a couple of things that I want to help you with saving some money today. The first thing you're going to see here is what is called the word retail. Retail versus institutional. There are two ways that you can invest your dollars today with investment people. The first way is called retail. It's where you're going to pay a sales charge or a commission. The second way that you can invest your dollars today is what is called institutional. This is where you pay a flat management fee for the services and advice that you get. Now, I'm going to liken this much to a real estate agent. One of my best friends in the whole wide world is fabulous, love her. But every time she knocks on my door, it's 6%. 6%. Every time on the buy, every time on the sell, she's making 6%, right? Because she's a real estate agent. Now, as much as I love her, she has never, in all the properties she's ever sold me, never come back, mowed my lawn, changed my furnace filters, taken care of the paint and the updating. She doesn't do any of that stuff. What does she do? She gets paid on the transaction and then she's out of there. Yes? Yes, that's how it works. That is how normal brokers work in the marketplace. Institutional advisors, how they work in the marketplace, is they become partners with you and the profit of that money. So when the money makes money, they make money. It's in their best interest on that 1% fee that they charge to have that money grow. So if your $100,000 becomes $200,000, they make more. If their $200,000 becomes $500,000, they make more. What do you want them to do every quarter? Make more. Oh God, we got a smart audience. Give them some more candy. Keep them awake. Okay, this is important because the dollars, pennies lead to dollars. And if you're sitting in this room today, and I'm going to use my daughter, she's the cute little girl that was here earlier. She's 23. And I said, at 25, if you just started saving money at 25, right now teach this to your kids and grandkids. 25, you start saving $250 a month. At $250 a month, by the time you hit 65, you will save $120,000. Okay? All you fact checkers, write her down and pull her out, right? $120,000. At a 12% rate of return, that's worth $3 million, $2,900,000 and some change, right? About $3 million at 65. She's put in 120. She puts that into a Roth IRA. All that money grows tax-free for her retirement. Now, the second thing that I would share with you is every 5 years that you wait to save money or teach your kids about it, cut it in half. So now if she waits till she's 30 to start saving money, now all the 30-year-olds in the room, they groan because they're like, right? You wait till you're 30, cut it in half. It's about $1.6 million. Every 5 years. See, the math matters. It adds up, just like what you did with your farms 30 and 40 and 50 years ago when you started buying that land. What's the value of that land today versus the value of it 30 years ago? Has it gone up? Yes or yes? Yes, right? So when we look at these, trimming out the fat, really understanding if you're going to take some profits off your farm, there's a whole section I'm going to take you through to show you where to position that tax-wise. Now, the other thing that I got a lot of questions over, so I added these slides in this year, was on annuities. These are areas where this is a CD alternative, and these dollars can grow on a fixed rate and create some cash flow for you. When you think about the cash flow that comes out of here, there are 3 ways that they can work. They grow tax deferred, they create interest and values. Now, here's the part that you want to know. 2023, here's the tax tips that you want to know about. The first one is the Solo K. Please take just a few minutes and ask about this to our people. The Solo K will allow you to put about $73,000 tax deferred off of a line I'm going to show you in just a moment, off of your tax return today. The second type of investment vehicle I have here, retirement vehicle, is what is called a defined benefit plan. And you can put a couple $100,000 tax deductible off of your 1040 away for your futures. So let me give you an example. If you've got $500,000 of grain sitting over here in the bins and you say, well, I don't really want to sell it because I don't want to pay the tax on that money. You say, well, I'm going to take $200,000 this year, and I'm going to take $200,000 next year, and I'm going to take $100,000 the next year. Or I'm going to take $100,000 for the next 5 years. You can put that into Solo Ks and pensions and make it 100% tax deductible off your tax return today. Let me show you exactly where, on what line. This is the line, Schedule 1, page 2, line 16. It says this one little word called qualified plans under Section 415. This is why I can't get a date to save my soul. It's not shocking, right? Under Section 415 of the Internal Revenue Code, there's a whole section there that talks about tax-deductible retirement plans called qualified plans. You can utilize these qualified plans today to funnel dollars off of your farm into your savings and make it deductible and not pay tax today. Now, I'm going to ask you the second most important question today. Do you have a tax strategist or do you have a tax preparer? Here's how you know the difference. A tax strategist versus a tax preparer. Tax preparer says, okay, Chuck and Susan, here's what you got. Dink, dink, dink. I added it all up. This is what you had. Now you got to pay the government this, right? Tax strategist says, okay, Chuck and Susan, added it all up. Here's option 1, option 2, option 3. And these are the things that we can do with it right now this year on that installment sale, on the different things that we did through pension plans, on the different things that we can buy for pre-buys today. Here's the stuff that we could do at income averaging over the next 3 years. They have strategies. They have decisions that they can be making with you today to mitigate those taxes. Now, if you do not have a tax strategist, you are paying too much, because the difference is the advice they give and making sure that you have a plan in place to help you keep more of what you make. How many of you in the room would like to keep more of what you make? Said by everyone, everywhere, with common sense. Yes or yes? Yes. Okay, so tax strategy, part of that is when you're going through installment sales, when you're going through buys and sells and you're doing different things of positioning those dollars today, whether it's a good year or a not so good year, we need a tax strategist as part of our team. I've been a money and business strategist for 30 years. All that I do with my teams today is speak, teach, and train, and I do the visionary work. I help people with family communication and communicating that plan and building out your teams such as your financial planning team, your advisory team, your tax team, your legal team, and making sure that the boots on the ground in your local community have what they need to do this. Now, the next area I want to spend a little bit of time talking a little bit about is self-employed versus do I do it under an LLC or LLP? Now, I don't have time to go through this in depth with you today. I teach a whole 1-hour course on just this section. But the difference between those of you who are filing as a Schedule F today and those of you who might be filed as a, or even a Schedule C, because I know there's some seed dealers and there's all sorts of different chemical dealers, there's all sorts of folks here today at this farm show. When you look at this, if you are filing and you are paying a 15.3% self-employment tax because you are the owner of that company and you're the employee of that company, employer, employee, you have to pay what the government says is a self-employment tax, 7.65 for the employee, 7.65 for the employer, which adds up to 15.3%. If you want to avoid that 15.3% on at least a portion of your income, you can utilize some structures to do so. One of those structures is a limited liability company or a limited liability partnership if you've got 2 or more people. And it can save you 15.3% on whatever portion you push over into that management company. This is a transition planning roadmap. How many of you in the room are in the process of saying, you know, at some point down the road, at some point, either now or later, I'm going to transition my farm or ranch when I'm doing that today, or transition my business? Because not only does this work with farms and ranches, but it works with pretty much all small businesses. We just change up some of the words. When you look at this, I've done thousands and thousands and thousands of farm plans over my 30 years. And there's always a process to it, but people don't know where to begin. They say, geez, I don't even know where to start here, Marissa. Well, here's where we start. We start with a checklist. We start with the process of assessing what's the value of those assets today. Who are they going to go to? What do I have for active? What do I have for passive assets today? What do I have for active income? What do I have for passive income today? Who do I want them to go to? Have I assessed the tax situation for that? Have I assessed what my retirement needs would be? Have I assessed my options? Should I do an installment sale or a contract for deed or finance it through the bank somehow? So all of these things we've put into a checklist, into your handy-dandy, fantastically free for you today, little workbook. And so if you want that, you can pull that out today, take it back to your team, take it back to your people, ask our folks about it today, and they can walk you through this process of the check-by-check process of creating a transition plan. Now, I teach a whole workshop just on transition planning, all the components that you're seeing up here and taking people through that process. But here's the big parts of it. When you look at the difference between what do I do with my operation versus what do I do with my land, operations versus land are very different. Now, here's why, because the land itself, if I sell land, I'm going to pay a capital gains tax in most situations, not all, depending on how you own that land today, but in most situations. But in your operation, you're going to pay active income. Let me give you an example. If I sell equipment in the active operation today, and I don't have some pre-planning done with that equipment, and that equipment, that $500,000 piece of equipment is depreciated on your 179 deductions down to nothing, and you sell it 3 years from now, you have to recapture the depreciation that you then took. Yes or yes? Everybody do this? Yes, right? When that happens, I now have to pay the tax on the $400,000 that tractor value was worth, or the combine value, or whatever the piece of equipment was. So when I have to pay that tax, it is now income taxable to me. And that goes on the bottom line of my AGI, my adjusted gross income. And I end up having to pay an income tax at a much, much higher rate. The other thing that you have in your planning packets today is you have a tax facts for this year. And I want to share that with you because these tax facts, this is the stuff that will make you rich or get you broke. It will help you keep more of what you make, or it will literally put you into the red this year if you don't know the rules that we play by. And so we rely on our accountants to do this for us, but I would tell you, take this back in and ask the question, is there anything else that I can do differently? Map those out for me. If I'm going through my transition plan, what do each one of those look like on paper if I do it this way versus I do it this way? Now again, I'm cramming into 1 hour a full day workshop for you, so take deep breaths, everyone. I'm only going to give you the top of the waves today. But this is an important piece for you to talk with your folks about today so that they have an opportunity to really work the math on each one of your options that are available. Now, this is an option that's available if you don't have a next generation farmer in your family today. There are some trusts today that you can combine with your auction sale or the sale of that equipment or the sale of that grain today. And when you sell them through a charitable trust, when you sell those assets through a charitable trust, it is a non-taxable event at the time of sale. Now, if I sell $3 million, I was literally just talking about this with a client this last week up in our neck of the woods in that Minot area. They had $3 million worth of equipment. They're going to do an auction sale this next year. And he said, what do I do? I said, well, you got $3 million worth of equipment. You have no next generation farmer. Your equipment has about $100,000 of depreciation left on it. So that means $2.9 million is going to be taxable income to you at roughly a 40% rate. So $3 million, 40%. Doing the math with me? Who's doing the math? 40% on $3 million. A boat ton of money, baby, right? $1.2 million. Anybody want to write a check for that? Not me, not I. So I said, here's some of the things that you can do. Number one, you can set up that trust. Number two, you can transfer the equipment into the trust. Number three, you have the auction sale there. Number four, you put it in an investment account inside of there, and you draw off however much income you need to live. So if you tell me, hey, I need $150,000 a year income to live, I'm going to draw that $150,000 off of here, and I'm only going to pay income tax on the amount that I draw off. Now, if I die, I have to leave a certain percentage of that to a charity. I can take the income, my spouse can take my income, my children can take the income off of there, depending on how you set it up. There's lots of different ways to do this. But this is what we call advanced tax planning, and we have an advanced tax strategy group that we work with you and your local people today to say, is this a right action for you? Does this make sense for your situation? Are there any other solutions to this problem? Next, before I get into that really quickly, each one of you should have received one of these. This is a little evaluation form. Let me hold it up the right way. It's a little evaluation form. It just lets me know how are we doing. And there's two parts to this evaluation form. If you want to pull this out of your planning packets, and do me a favor on here, I want to show you something very specific on here. You want to pull these out. At the very top, there's a little section in there that says, yes, I would like a free consultation. Now, this is not a sales job. If you want to get a second opinion on where you're at today, we have a team of advisors that can help you with that. Dave and Carl are in the back today. They can help answer any of those questions, but our teams give second opinions. And our offices in Minot, Bismarck, Jamestown, and Fargo. Dave back there, he is from Jamestown. Carl is from Fargo. And we got local offices right there. But in addition to that, we do these calls for all over the country. So if you don't have a local office right where you're at today, no problem. We are in 43 different states today, and we can work with you kind of wherever you're at. The second thing I'm going to ask you to do on here is look down here on the bottom, and I'd really, really like to get your feedback. What are the areas you want to know more about? What are the areas you want to know less about? What are the areas where you'd want to take a deeper dive? Because there's so much information to try to cover in 1 hour with you. I want to make sure we're meeting people where we're at. We're giving you the stuff that you can take home and truly use. So we've got a whole lot of resources here for you, including a Get Started free planning packet that you would have received when you came in. But those things are helpful to us. And so on the way out, when you're done filling those out, I would just ask that you do two things on there. Give me some feedback. How do we do? And what are the areas in your ideal world you would have liked to hear more about, right? The only other thing you can put on there, so if you've got any other personal comments, that's totally great too. I love those. Just do me a favor. I am still a girl, so you cannot put on there the presenter is ugly or not funny or any mean stuff, okay? So you just got to be a little bit nice, okay? I'm showing up for free for you today. All right, so we're going to take you right through the next part, which is we're going to talk a little bit about how do you protect and preserve some of these things. So these are the insurance things that keep people up at night. Life insurance, long-term care, disability, all these different areas today. And when you think about critical illness and all the programs that are out there and all the different types of people that are trying to sell you insurance today, we get overwhelmed with that. So one of the areas that we talk a little bit about is what is the purpose of that coverage? What will it do for you? Now, I get a lot of questions on life insurance, so I included this slide this year, this time, on the two different types of life insurance that are on the marketplace. The first one is called permanent. The second one is called term. Now, I don't sell this product, right? I'm licensed for all this stuff, but I don't work individually with clients selling products and services and doing that stuff anymore. I am literally Geneva. I am here to educate, empower, and equip you with the good tools to take back and start your plan. These are the questions that you need to ask your insurance people. You must ask this. If you want to protect yourself and make sure that your stuff is in order, these are the questions that you want to ask your folks. Now, one of those questions is, do I have a current illustration to age 100? Interest rates over the last 10 years, when I came into the industry, two things. Back in the day when I came into the industry, the estate tax was $675,000, right? So anything over $675,000 was taxed at 40%. Today you can leave $12,920,000. Anything over and above that is taxed at 40%. So there's been a big, wide gaping hole in the middle of that, right? Now, when you look at insurances, I believe the same thing has happened. In the last 12 to 15 years, what has happened is interest rates did this. They went in bonds, they went, right? And we got 2% on our bonds, or 1% on our bonds, which is what has been driving these life insurance policies. And so they show illustrations where you make 8, 10, 12% interest, but they haven't been making 8, 10, or 12% because they're invested in the same long-term government bonds that are earning you 3 or 4. Yes or yes? Everybody do this. It's Econ 101. You cannot get blood from a rock, right? It's not unless you are Jesus, you cannot get blood from a rock. Yes or yes? Okay, so thank you. So here's the process of really understanding some of those insurance things. We got to ask better questions. One of the things I also have for you today as a resource is this is an extended planning guide for long-term care. So extended planning guides, what this looks like is really a whole planning packet that you can take home and talk about long-term care, in-home health care, assisted living care, full-blown nursing home care with your families. It comes equipped with checklists, what to bring, how to have a conversation, what you want, what you don't want. All of these pieces are here. There's only 5 ways to pay for long-term care today, guys. And I had someone tell me earlier, well, there's no way to protect it. And I said, that is absolutely positively not true. That is not true because I've helped thousands of clients do it. And here's what I know. You can prepare or you can repair. And many times people come too late. They come too late. They just have not prepared for it. And it's one of those things nobody really wants to talk about, so we can kick, right? We kick it on down the road for the next time or for the next season, or I'll get to that next winter. But this process of really the 5 ways to pay, you can use cash. You can buy a long-term care or a nursing home policy. You can buy what's called a hybrid life insurance policy. You can utilize an annuity with a long-term care benefit, or you can gift your assets away, either through things like an irrevocable trust, gift it to them outright, or gift that through a quick claim deed. So those are the ways that you can literally plan and prepare for things like nursing home. Now in 2016, actually it started in 2015, I got a call from my fiance at that time. He was 6'3", built like a brick house. He said, babe, I can't walk. I said, what do you mean you can't walk? So I rush over to his house. I'm a traditional girl. He lived at his house. I lived at mine. And I find James on the floor. And I pick him up and I put him on my back and drag him to the ER. And a few hours later, they say, hey, Marissa, he is full of cancer, head to toe. We're going to have to airlift you to Minneapolis tomorrow for a surgery that will either save his life or take his life. We're not really sure which. And it's the middle of it's just beginning the middle of the night, and the nightmare began, right? Now we think about needing long-term care, or we think about needing care when we think about like a 95-year-old old guy, right? That's what we think about. We don't think about young and healthy and things are okay. Things are going good today. So in the middle of the night, I'm calling my team and asking them to build out documents because we weren't married. James had his stuff, I had my stuff. So I'm calling my team and I'm saying, I need a healthcare directive, I need a durable power of attorney, I need a will in place. We need to get this stuff before we get on a plane. And oh, by the way, can you please hurry? Because he's in great, great pain, and he cannot have any more pain medication until we get these documents signed, because otherwise they're not legal. How many people in the world have a team that they can call at 2 o'clock in the morning to prepare their documents to make sure that their family is taken care of? Very, very few. And so I learned a valuable lesson, and I don't tell you that story because I want you to think I'm an idiot, because I feel like an idiot now. This is what I do every day for families, thousands and thousands of families. But I tell you that story because it's hard. It's hard to plan and prepare for these things, and we think about it, we need this stuff for old people, but we don't. We need it for all of us that are in the room to make sure that we've got our legal documents in order. I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. So we spent the next 3 months in that hospital room as James fought for his life. And a little before Christmas, he said, "Babe, take me home." I said, "Anna, I'm like a financial person, a money person. I speak and I train and I do business strategy. I don't know anything about medical stuff. You picked the wrong sister, you know?" So I began to learn from those nurses. And I learned how to change a bed in 90 seconds, and a feeding tube, and medications, and everything that you need to do when you love somebody and they say, "Take me home," including helping him with the bathroom and washing him and brushing his teeth. But what I learned during that time is we didn't have a good plan in place. And because of that, I took a piece of his dignity. A piece of his dignity was taken because he had to rely on family and friends to serve him, even though he was a ex-Army Ranger and had served a couple of tours in Iraq. Even though he had served his country, we didn't want to have him in a hospital 5 hours away from us. We wanted to have him with us. Well, if we want to have him with us and not die in a hospital by himself, we needed to do something different. So I'm going to give you that extended care planning booklet today. We've got some of these at the back. Carl or Dave can help you with that. If we are out of them by the time it's done, please let me know. We will mail those out to you. But there's a reason for that, because as you put together your documents and start building your plan, I want to make sure that you've got these things reviewed. And we can help you do those insurance reviews today. We will give you a free insurance review. We'll walk you through long-term care, disability, life insurance, anything that needs to be reviewed for your policies because you came to this workshop, because you came to this session. That's not a sales tactic. That's we want to plan and prepare for people. And when you can afford to quit, you can't afford to quit. And I'm in that space now because it's a mission for me now. Not just a job, this is a mission. I want to serve families. I want to make a difference in the world. So I'm going to tell that story over and over again to every room I go to, because if just one of you in this room will do something different when you walk out of here, then my mission was completed today. So when I think about these next few places, there's how the farmer uses an LLC. There's a bunch of different strategies we've got inside of here, but I'm going to give you the last one, which is going to be, we're going to talk about estate planning very quickly. There are different types of legal documents that James did not have in order in the middle of the night. He did not have his health care directive or his durable power of attorney. He did not have a will in place. He didn't have a trust in place. He didn't have those things in place. And you today, when you sit there and you think about, well, everything you own or have an incident of ownership in, all of your balance sheet today, and then the stuff you don't keep on your balance sheet is all added up, and it's going to go to someone at some point in the future. So we have to plan and prepare for who that is. Otherwise, the government has a plan for you, and the state will tell your family where it goes based on the state law. It's called dying intestate. These are the 4 kind of strategies that you can utilize today. I'm going to talk about the 2 living strategies first on the right-hand side. Healthcare directives and durable power of attorney. These are very simple. We will help you get these in place very economically. You can actually, if you're in the state of North Dakota, you can go to the North Dakota website and you can get one of these, and our team will help you fill it out. But it's called a healthcare directive, and it appoints someone to make your medical decisions for you. Durable power of attorney puts someone in charge of making your financial decisions in the event that you become incapacitated. These other 4 documents that we talk about, a will with testamentary trust, an irrevocable trust, or a revocable living trust, these are different planning documents that you can put in place to say, I own this stuff and this is who I want it to go to and how I want it to go to them when I am no longer on this planet. So the first one is a will. It says, I love you, honey. You get everything. Here's the stuff. Outright, bada boom, bada bang. It's now yours. It goes through probates. That's a court-supervised process. That is public record if you don't file some additional forms. So if I want to go down to any old courthouse in this great nation and find out who got what and when, I can just look up who died and where their will inventory went without an additional disclaimer document inside of there. The other 2 documents, irrevocable trust and revocable living trust that we talk about, this is a way of leaving those assets. These 2 types of documents can protect your next generation from lawsuits, bankruptcies, and divorce. So if you want to ensure that something in your bloodline stays in your bloodline, such as your land, your family land, these are 2 documents that you can utilize to do that. The last document is what is called a quitclaim deed. A quitclaim deed basically says this: I'm going to quit my claim today. I'm going to give up that asset today, quit my claim. I no longer own it. I gave it to you. I can retain what's called a life estate interest on that and keep the income off of that thing till Jesus takes me home. This is another option that you have available for you. The last thing I want to share with you today is this. Every one of you in this room or listening online have a decision to make. And here's probably the most important thing that I'm going to give you today. When you leave here and you're driving home and you're thinking about your family and the people you love, what do they need to know? What do they need to learn? And what do they need to do? Because there's stuff wrapped up in your head that you know how to do. You do it on autopilot every day. You get up and sometimes I bet you even drive places and you go, how the heck did I get here? That's not where I was going. Ever done that? Yep, me too. And so when we think about this take action, the very first thing I'm going to ask you is, who do you love? What do you love? What ticks you off? What things do you say, that is wrong and I don't want that to happen? Like, my stuff has to get sold off to be paying for an $18,000 a month nursing home claim. Maybe that makes you mad. Maybe you say, that's all right, I got $18,000 a month, I'll pay it, no problem. But maybe it makes you mad if you think, well, someone in my bloodline got divorced and now half my land is now owned by somebody outside my generation. Maybe that makes you mad. But think about the people you love first. What do they need to know from you? What's wrapped up in your head that they need to know? What do they need to learn from you before you leave this planet? And what do you want them to do? What do you want them to do? And then you wrap that around those 5 questions I've got here for you along with this worksheet. There's a worksheet that will go with this, pardon me. The why, what, who, how, when. Those questions, a good financial planning team will help you answer those questions. Put those documents and those pieces in order. A good planning team will help you step by step walk through tax, legal, risk, wealth, but more importantly that, what's going to give you peace and what's going to help you sleep at night. And a question for this last page is this: what keeps you up at night? If you had less than a year to go, if you were my James and you had 3.5 months, what would you do? Because he woke up every single day and he would look at me and he would say, good morning, my beautiful, perfect, sweet angel. No, I am definitely not a beautiful, perfect, sweet angel, right? I had a Minion pajama pants on and an I Dream a Genie ponytail, and I was the only woman in the history of cancer that got fat because I ate pizza every single day in that hospital room, right? But when you know you have limited time, when you know things, when we know we don't have a crystal ball that works and we don't know when our end time is, we do things differently. Yes or yes? Yes. And when we do things differently, we do them for the people that we love. So I'm going to encourage you that this doesn't just become another talk that you listen to, that you take action. And if it's not with our team, okay, no problem. But find a team and get those people around the table and get them planning with you and for you. They work for you. Your accountant is getting paid. Your attorney is getting paid. Your insurance guy is getting paid. Your banker's getting paid. They're all getting paid to do a job. Put them in the room, say, guys, we got to work together. We got to build out a plan that works for me and my family and my next generations. And here's how you do that. You take this next worksheet that I've got, and the first thing you do is you determine your goals. What do you want to see happen? The second thing that you do is that you build a strategy. After you build that strategy, you sit down with those people and you say, hey, what do you got, Tom? What do you got, Sarah? What do you got, Susan? Put those things together, and we put them together in a planning binder that looks like this, so that your family knows what they need to know, what they've learned, and what you want them to do when you can no longer speak to them. Then you take that little worksheet and you implement it. And you put that plan in place, and you get the will in order, and you get the legal documents in order, and you put the beneficiaries in order, and you put all those things in order. Because one day, they will bless you or curse you for what you did. They will. And they will say, or you will say, I wish I would have. I wish I would have. And I don't want that to be from anybody who, at the sound of my voice, we're in this room and we have an opportunity to do something different. There's some planning pieces inside of here to help you get started and get moving on that piece. My team is here. We work with clients all over the nation today. If you have questions, we want to help you get answers to those questions. help you get peace, help you sleep at night, and help you plan and prepare for your families. That is my job. That is my mission. I just ask one thing, that before you leave today, you do me a favor, you hand that little evaluation to my guys on the way out and let us know how we did. And if we can serve you with something else, great. If not, I pray you go on your way and you are blessed in whatever you decide to do coming out of today. I am incredibly grateful that I get to do this every day. I see it as my great honor to be in rooms like this, whether there is 2 people or 2,000. We want to serve you. So thank you so much for allowing me to speak into you and with you during this time. I am grateful for this time with you. I wish you and your families well. And I'll be at the back if you have any other questions. Thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate you.